Good afternoon, everyone. Hi, my name is Michelle. I am the one that you guys usually are talking to in the chat or the on the videos. Today, we're going to go over how to manage different roof heights in your project within the same project. If you can hear me, can you do like a thumbs up or emoji in the chat box, just so I know? All right, perfect. If you have any question during the session specifically about the roof, go ahead and add it in the chat box as we're going. I'm going to be checking back and forth. And let's try to save our questions specifically for the roof. If there's time before our time is up, then I will open the floor to other questions, but it's the roof. So most times that takes, the whole session. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So I know you guys have worked on, I'm hoping that you have seen some tutorials about our roof or have gone through our Cedreo Academy to learn a little bit about our roof. One of the biggest, how can I put it? One of the biggest rules you could say in our software is when you're adding a roof, it's important to add a level with exterior walls specifically for the roof. Now, this is what I mean. Before I get into this is what I mean. The roof needs its own set of support. It needs its own walls to support it. And sometimes when you add in, so I'm going to, next to this house on the ground floor, I'm going to draw a basic house. All right, so at an angle, I'm going to straighten it up. Make sure it's, okay, there we go. And a lot of times I have people that say, oh, but my house is only one floor and maybe it has a small little like gable roof in the front. I don't need a second floor. The second floor is not for your house, it's for the roof. Because what happens is when you add your roof to just one level on your house, the walls are then used to support the roof. So then the roof collapse the walls down. So this is what it will look like, right? And I have a lot of people that they like, I don't understand what's going on. Why is this happening? And it's happening because your house, even though your house is one level, the roof still needs its own set of walls for support. So this means you have to go up, add a level. And it's why I always say, because some people will add a level and then forget to add the walls. And when you do that, and then you add a wall, you add a roof to a level with no walls, you have the level, but you did not add exterior walls specifically. This is what happens. The roof ends up floating above the house because there are no walls to support the roof. Or I have sometimes some people will then increase the height of the floor below, but then the gable ends are open. There are no walls to support the roof. And this is why. So you always want to add a level and then make sure you trace out the exterior walls for the floor above. And it's always going to look like it's a lot taller than what you need it to be. Do not lower the walls on the added level, because once you add the roof to that top level, it automatically uses the walls as support and it collapses down to a single story house, right? Now, once you have it like this, you're now able to manipulate the height of the roof base. So you have one level, but let's say you have an attic space. So I'm using the material steps. So I want you to see, as I put my mouse in here, you see that it's kind of an open space up here. It's the attic space, but you need it to be a little bit bigger or taller. You don't necessarily need a second floor, but you need this space right here between the house and the attic to be longer, or to be the attic height to be longer. You don't change the height of the top level, because the top level no longer is considered a level. It's specifically for the roof. It's the roof level. Now you go to the roof step, select the roof, and then you can adjust the base height for the roof to increase it. And what's going to happen is, you notice how as I'm increasing it, in the middle, the living area and the total internal area are increasing as well. And you see these dashed lines. Within the dashed lines is my living area. including the dash lines and the size, the parts outside of it is the total internal area. And the reason it's determined that way is because the clearance that I have had set is at 7 feet. So anything from the ground up to the ceiling, if it's at least, if you can stand up 7 foot tall, then that's the living area that I have determined. You can change that as well. And you can also like check to take that away if you want to. So that's one of the reasons it's important to be able to add your level, because then you have this flexibility without impacting your ground floor. Okay. I'm saying all of this before I get into the multi-level roof part. And then another reason it's also important to add that level with exterior walls is because in our system, that's how you have your flat ceiling on the ground floor. I'll show you what I mean. So you come to the 2D, your 3D step, and let's say I'm going down to my ground floor, and I'm going to zoom inside. Zoom all the way. Do you see this flat roof right here? If I did not add a level above, I will then have to continue to manipulate the camera to see the flat roof. And sometimes it's a little bit more complicated if you have single room projects, like you're just working on the kitchen, you're just working on the living room, and you want to create a rendering and the light source is too strong from outside inside, or you want to add a design to your flat ceiling. All of that is important to add a level with exterior walls. Okay. Now, doing this does not mean you cannot get a vaulted ceiling. I think I'm kind of going off track, but I'm just going to do this really quick. When you do something like this and you add that level specifically for the roof, so I'm going to make this 0, the base height 0, because I don't want it to be further up. I only want it to be a single story house. I'm going to change my ridge start, and I'm going to lower my slope. But you say, okay, Michelle, I want a part of my house to be vaulted ceilings and the other part I want it to be flat ceiling. No problem. When you add a level for the roof level, now you're able to create those specific spaces without impacting the rest of the house. So as you saw, the rest of the house has a flat ceiling. Okay. So now I'm going to go to my layout step. From the very top floor, I'm going to use partition walls. And I'm going to section out a space, the space that's going to be the vaulted ceiling, right? That's what I'm going to do. Now, it could go either way. If most of my house is vaulted and just one space is flat, then you can just section out the space that is flat, and then you can remove the ceiling for the space that's vaulted. So it can go either way. For this, I'm saying, all right, my living room area, it's where it's considered room 10. That's going to be the vaulted area, and everywhere else is going to be flat. So on the top floor, I'm going to use I'm going to partition out the walls and make sure it's in enclosed space. And how you know that is when you'll see the room number, and then you have living area or total internal area, depending on if you have it checked. I'm going to come up here. I'm going to deactivate my roof so I can see what I'm doing. And now you have in this space here, in the layout step, I'm going to click in room 10. I'm still on the top floor. This is where I'm at right now. I'm going to remove my ground and my baseboard. And then from the bottom floor, I'm going to go downstairs. And up here, I'm just going to adjust my camera. I'm going to now use hidden walls, because what I want to do now is section out the space that's going to be vaulted. I don't need to put partition walls on the ground floor because I don't want to separate the rest of the space, especially if it's kind of an open floor plan or like a kitchen, dining, living room kind of situation. You want to use hidden walls on the ground floor. So I'm going to hidden wall. And now I'm going to trace along where I added those walls above. Click, it says room 7 because I don't have my rooms named. Click in this space and I'm going to remove my ceiling. So you notice how, I'm coming back here. I want you to look up here. When I remove the ceiling and I'm going to add my roof back in, you notice how now I have this vaulted space. I have this vaulted space here. So let's say this is like a little den living room situation. Everywhere else over here is flat. It's only vaulted in the area that I indicated. All right. So that's one of the reasons it's also important to consider adding your roof to adding your the the additional level with exterior walls for the roof. Now, there are some exceptions to this, and now we're gonna come into our multi-height roof area. All right, there are some exceptions to this. So for example, this house I have here, it's a split level home. And I believe I have a webinar. So if you're interested in learning how to create split level homes, I do have a webinar in the knowledge base, kind of the replay of showing you how to create this split level home. But as you see, I have several different types of roofs in this house. I have a garage here, I have the main house, and I have two different types back here. All right. I always tell people, when you're looking at your house, do not look at it in terms, especially when you're drawing out the floor plan, do not draw out the floor plan trying to follow the roof line. You cannot, you have to draw it out. First, you draw it out using just the basic rectangles and squares. Now, if you have like a bay window or something, and I can show you guys an example of adding on a bay window with that type of roof as well. I'll add that in. But it's important to section out, like you're looking at your house, if you're looking at your plan, in different sections. The first section is adding the larger roofs prior to adding the smaller roofs. And sometimes, a lot of the times, what people do is they add, like if they're adding a dormer, they will add the walls for the dormer prior to actually like adding the roofs in, right? And that's not necessarily wrong, but it makes it a little bit more complicated and a longer process. Why? Because we do have automatic dormers that you start. So always look at your house, look at the design, and start with the largest roof first. And the same thing applies here. So you see how I have a 2-story house. If I were to add this house, I can actually go ahead and add a roof to the second floor without adding an exterior or an extra level. And the reason I'm saying this is because in this specific plan, the whole house has vaulted, the whole top floor has vaulted ceilings, right? So it could work. So I can go to the multi-slope roof and I can just draw out. Remember, when you're drawing a roof, start by clicking on the edge of the wall. These gray lines, those are walls. Those are not just lines, those are walls. So you have to treat the walls like how you would treat your house. If you're drawing the roof, you want to make sure the roof sits on the other side of the wall, right? So I'm going to click on each corner and make sure the roof is covering the walls. Now you see what happens is, I'm pretty sure it's happened to a couple of you guys, where my roof automatically collapsed because what the roof did was it used the top level for its own, for support. So when you come in, I don't know if you can see here, you see that every single part of the top floor is kind of like an attic space. All the walls are slanted. All the walls are automatically slanted because that's what the roof is. So kind of selfish, is using it as, as it's not looking at it as a second floor. It's using it, well, I can now use these walls for myself. You can do this, but then I will go up to the this top floor, and I'm going to increase my walls. I'm going to increase it. Instead of increasing the walls of the layout in the layout step, I'm only increasing the base height of the roof. And the base height of the roof is this section right here. Let me zoom in. See this little white section right here? This is the base height of the roof. So I'm going to now increase it to, let's say, 8 feet. Or I can make it go taller than 8 feet if I wanted to. So you have this option, and this is only suggested, right, for the main roof if you have vaulted ceilings throughout. So if I come in here, you see that now this whole thing is vaulted. It's not flat because I did not add a level specifically for the roof. Now I'm going to go to my layout step. Yes, my plan is only a 2-story house. However, I need a roof, I need walls. I'm going to add a level. I'm not going to duplicate walls because I created something here. So I'm just going to say no. And I'm not duplicating walls. Why? Because I don't need a level on this roof right here on my patio area. And I will show you why. I'm now just going to add in exterior walls. Right now, I do not need to add an interior walls because I'm not creating a vaulted area here. If I was creating a vaulted area, I'll do the same thing I did in my diagram here, in my example here, where I will then add the interior partition walls to remove the ground of the space that's going to be vaulted. But for right now, I'm not doing that. All right. So this is where a lot of people say, well, Michelle, my house, I don't need this. I don't need this 3 stories. I don't need this. And it's too tall. I'm going to lower the height. Please do not do that. This is when now you come, I'm going to create a multi-slope roof. And you can select the automatic roof detection since it's just a simple roof. And I'm going to add it in. Now you see what happens. My 3rd story is collapsed. You can either change the material of this area and then it closes it up because you can't, now you cannot tell the difference. Or you can just go back to your roof and then just lower the height down to 0. And then the little one that's left, now you can go and just change the material. And you can change the material here as well, because I do get that question a lot. All right. Then you can add your overhang and all of that. Now I have other sections of the house. I know the rule says add a level with exterior walls. Now the main part of the house, the main roof is already completed, right? So I have my main roof. But now I have a garage level and I have these 2 sections. The garage has a single slope roof. So that's going to be the next roof that I create. And instead of me adding a level for the garage, since it's a single slope roof, and I already have it, I have it kind of poking out of the main house, I'm able to now come and create the single slope roof. Make sure your automatic roof detection is not selected. I'm on the ground floor. And I'm going to now draw the walls or the roof on the other side of the wall, but I am not going to include the walls of the main house. And this is what I mean. I'm going to come exactly on the outside and I'm only covering the garage. All right. Our single slope roofs, if this is your first time seeing it, it adds in the direction of how you're drawing it. So I drew it kind of to have a downward slope on this side. So I'm just going to click on the very front to change the downward slope. And that's what happens. And remember, because I drew it, I added it on the ground floor, the walls are collapsed. My garage door is kind of missing or doing its own thing. So this is when you come in the right panel, make sure this is selected. And once again, I'm going to increase the height. And then I don't need this to be this far up, so I'm just going to lower the slope. All right. I want to show you why it's important for you to not to take the smaller roofs, and this is a different height roof, and cover the walls of the main house. And what happens is a lot of people add an overhang, right? First, if you were to cover the walls of the main house, well, I did it too good of a job, but what will happen here will be the walls will be interrupted and it will be going into the house. You don't want that. So you want to right next to it without actually going into the walls. All right. Now, if I were to add a single slope roof, if I were to add an overhang, let's say the overhang is 2 feet. What I see a lot of people doing is say all roof edges. And this is not ideal because you do not want 2 roofs in the main house and a roof to intercept. You do not need an overhang on the main side of the house. That's a mistake a lot of people make when they're creating different roof heights. They add the overhang on every single thing. The smaller roofs, the larger roofs, you only need an overhang on the outside of the house. Make sure that don't intercept with the main house and the roofs, the roof. So to change this, one, you would just click on every single edge and add the roof instead of doing the automatic option, or you can do the automatic option and then the part of the roof that intercepts with the main house, click on the edge and then just remove this overhang. You just hit none. And then you only have an overhang on top of the garage area. All right, now let's come back here. Let me see if anybody has any questions. Hey Trav, yes, this recording is going to be sent to you at the end of this session. So just look out for the email. Once I'm done, it will be sent to you. Where are we? Okay, so now I'm adding the roof in the patio area. I can add a section specifically for the patio section, a patio area for the roof, but I don't want to do that because most of the time when you have an outdoor patio, it's a vaulted ceiling to see the line of the gable, right? So a lot of times it's not necessary to add a section specifically for the patio area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to my first floor where the patio is drawn. And I want you to, these are actually these are screen doors or windows because it's a screen in patio. So that's why it looks like there's no walls, but there are walls. The screen is just longer. And I'm going to draw, same thing applies. I'm going to draw my roof directly over these walls. And I'm not intercepting with the house. I'm exactly on the outside of the house where I need it to be. I'm going to change the direction of my ridge. And the same thing, it collapsed down. So I want it to go up, let's say 6 feet. And I can let it go up a little bit more. All right, now this is when you have, because we have the automatic, what is it called? Our automatic roof valley in the, as an option in the right panel. But certain roofs doesn't give you the option, especially if the software determines that they cannot create an automatic roof valley without interrupting the walls. But that is perfectly fine because you can create your roof valley without you can create the roof valley manually. All right. So we have something like this, but this part of the house, since there is no roof valley, and the reason there is none is because there's no roof on the first floor. Remember, I added the floor above specifically for the roof. I'm now going to, in my roof step, select the edge of the house that I want to connect to the main roof, and I'm going to add a point. And I'm adding it directly in the middle where the ridge is. And I'm going to extend it slightly. All right, so this is what it's going to look like. Now you have a couple of options here. If you need it to be lower, simply lower the slope of this. And then you can always adjust where it sits within the roof. If you need it to be higher, increase the base height. And then same thing, adjust where it sits. You can bring it up, you can bring it further, you can lower the slope. And now you have a screening patio that's vaulted. All right, now I know you see this roof section right here. So what you can do if you come to the roof step, I added a multi-slope roof here, but I can open the gables. So that's another thing. When you add multi-slope roofs, you have the ability to kind of edit it in terms of where you want the bottom slope to go, if you want to add extra points and things like that. I'm going to, if you want to add a hip or open up the gable. There are 4 hips on this roof that I don't need, right? So closer to where the where this part is, I'm going to click on the edge of the multi-slope roof. I'm going to just uncheck the bottom slope to open it up. And now in my patio area, that vaulted space, the roof is not poking through anymore. It's opened up. It looks a little bit wonky, but now you can go and same thing, same rules apply. Click on the edges. You can add your overhang. And then I can lower my slope as well if it's too high up. But remember, because you're looking at the roof separate, any changes you make to a main roof, go back to the smaller roofs because this is going to affect things on the smaller roof. For example, see, I lower the slope of the main roof. So now you see I have my my automatic roof valley is poking too far in. So I'm just going to come down here, and I'm always use my 3D camera. So I'm using both windows just to see what I'm doing as I make these edits. So remember, this is your mouse is really important because you can change the angles as you're making it so you know what you're doing is accurate. And I'm just going to pull this back a little, and that tells me I need to lower the slope of my main of this one. So I had a roof, had three different, I had a house that had three different roofs, but instead of me kind of looking at it as one big roof, I was able to kind of separate the roofs. Now, another one applies in terms of, like, let's say you have a covered patio towards the front, right? Actually, before I get that, let me see if anybody has any questions. All right, so far, no questions. Let's say you had a covered patio in the front. So I'm gonna come back here from my ground floor. I need walls to, cover the space. Let's use. And for now, I'm going to cover the whole thing, and then you will see, we'll show you how to open it up. It's not hard to open it up. You're just kind of, all right. So you have these walls that you're going to create a smaller gable or covered patio in the front. I'm going to come to my roof step. The same thing applies. The covered patio. Now, actually, the same thing applies, but also determines, it depends on the type of house you have. Some people just have a open gable roof at the very front before you walk in that doesn't have any walls or anything. And you can create that with this step as well. But with this is specifically for a covered patio in the front. So I added my walls. Then I'm going to come to roof step, my gable, and I'm not going to cover the walls closer to the house. I'm going to pull this back and uncheck my magnetism, just so. All right. And now I'm going to change the direction of this. So you have this covered space, but the reason I wanted to show you this is because when you are drawing your space specifically for like a covered patio, towards the front, in the layout step, you have to make sure you have it covered on the top floor, but then a lot of people will do it on the bottom floor, but then add this wall right here, which creates a room. Simply delete that wall. Now you have something that looks like this, right? Where it's open. You can now go up to the roof and you can create some edits. You can increase the height of it if you want, or you can lower the height, lower the slope, or if you don't need this part covered right here, simply remove the front wall. Now I have this covered area and I just need to increase my height to go above the window that I have. And then you can also extend it out as well if you need to have it extended. Now, let's say you don't need the walls in here, which is perfectly fine. Go to the layout step, and I'm just going to delete it. But for you, you won't have to delete it. You can just draw in the roof. And sometimes people are like, but Michelle, the roof it looks like it's floating. When you draw in your roof, you're going to draw it on the first floor. You're not going to have to put it all the way up to that roof level because you don't need it all the way up there. You draw it to your first floor. And it looks like it's floating. Like for now, I'm going to delete it. It looks like it's floating. You want to add in a square or a rectangle of where you want it to go and make sure it's straight. Click on the edge to make sure everything's at a 90-degree angle and straight. Turn the direction of your ridge. And instead of you having this box, because what I see sometimes people have a box for the roof that goes in, and then they're wondering, Michelle, how come my walls are open? That's because you drew the roof all the way inside covering the walls. You want to just come to the very front. And now you can either increase the base height and have it go up, or you can lower it down to 0. For this, if I lower it down to 0, it will be interrupting my window. And now you have like a little covered area. Now the same thing, if I were to add, let me come up here. If I was to add a smaller gable in the front of this multi-slope house, I'm going to draw my gable, let's say, kind of coming out of the house, change the direction of it. And you notice how when I change the direction, it automatically cuts my my overhangs. And now I can add in my automatic roof valley, and it will connect it. And because the main house has 0 base and the slope is 73, that's why you see that it's kind of floating here. So I come back to my smaller gable, and I'm just going to try to match it. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the same slope. Remember that, because it's just how you want the smaller gable to look. It doesn't have to look the same. But for the most part, to close out that gap, you want it to have the same base height. And you can either extend it out, or now I have some designs where there is no overhang. There's a gable in the very front. There is no overhang on it. So this, in a case like this, you would draw it the exact same way we just drew it. You add your automatic roof valley, and then you come in and you close out that area right here. And you'll still have to remove this overhang to get a look like this. Now, but if you need an overhang on these sides of the house, just not on the front, you use your points. You add points, because now you're sectioning out. Right now, it's just one big line. You want to section out to create a break in the section of the house. A lot of times this. All right, you see that I added these points only where I needed it, and then I'm adding overhang only where I needed it. So now you have overhang here, you have your main house here, your main roof there, and on the side, let's say I'm going to add a dormer. We're adding a lot of things on this little house, but let's say I'm going to add a dormer. I'm going to select dormer, and then you have the ones that sits on the gable roof, or you have the one that blends in with the wall. Let's do one that blends in with the wall. The dormer will automatically, see, I didn't have to add walls specifically for the dormer. When I drew everything, our software automatically recognizes the dormer needs its own set of walls. I didn't have to add walls for it. Now I can go and I can edit out my dormer. I can lower the height of it if I need to. I can adjust the width, the side thickness, the front, the angle, the slope, and all of that, as well as the overhang. Oh, it's 3 o'clock already. Does anybody have any questions? All right. I hope I was very clear when talking about like creating the multi heights of the roof. If there's anything else you guys would like, if you have any questions before we get off, this is the time to type it in. This video is going to be emailed to you guys at the end. And if you have more questions beyond this, we have, as a professional or enterprise user, you can reach out to me, and I can, send you chat, email, or phone support. We can do all of that. Or if you are a free or a personal user, I can send you the link for our Cedreo Academy for you to kind of go a little bit more in-depth training, as well as our knowledge base. I do have a question. What if you have a section of the house that is at an angle from the main body. Can you match the ridge line? We are considering adding curved roofs in the future, but if I'm being honest with you, it's not something that's on our roadmap at the moment. So I don't even know if it'll be in a year or 2 years or so. All right, what if you have a section of the house that is at an angle from the main body? Can you match the ridge line? Okay, without actually seeing the section of the house at an angle, you should be able to match the ridge line. And the way that you can do that, I wonder if I can do it with the roof on the ground floor. Let's try this one. You're able to, if I were to add a gable roof to the garage area. Now, I do not know what the house you're referring to, what the roof looks like. I'm just doing as an example. Oh no, this might not be a good example because it's not. Oh, you know what? You should be able to change the ridge offset of that roof. So for example, I'm not sure the angle of both roofs to be able to tell you for sure, but you also have the option when you select it and you want to be able to make sure the two ridges align. This ridge offset option right here is where you're able to change it. I don't know if you can see here, especially if one side of the roof is a lot longer. If one slope is longer than the other, but you want to match up the ridge line to another ridge line, you're able to change the roof offset here. So you can select it and then change the roof offset. I believe if I were to come to, let me delete this. Change start. All right. And I wanted to change the direction of this roof. Let me delete this. Increase the height. Let's say something like this. I'm not sure because, like I said, I can't see the house that you're referring to. So, but yes, you should be able to align it by changing the ridge offset. Can you show how to add skylights? We do have skylights if you go to the wall opening step and where it says roof, we do have these lights here, and you can just attach them where you need it to be. And with all of our items, you can adjust the dimensions. Now there is an exception to adding skylights. For example, I think it's better for me to do it over here. If you had a flat roof and you wanted to create a skylight in the middle of the roof, this is when you will, I always suggest, because our skylights are all at an angle, you will use, what is it? The flat roof. You will create the opening around where you want the skylight to be. I've done this before. Trying to remember which roof we used, which opening we used. All right. And then remove the parapet from inside. Click on each edge, remove the parapet. And you only need to remove the ones that are inside. All right. I'm going to remove these walls. And then in the furnishing step, you're going to find a window. Oh, actually, no, it was in the material step. You're going to actually find a shape. And you're going to add that shape in here. Fill in the shape in the opening that you created. And as you know, when you're working in 3D, you want to be able to look at all the angles. And then use the materials to create a glass. And with shapes, you want to make sure you apply it to all, like when you're adding glass for shapes, even on the walls, to be able to see through, you cannot just apply the glass on one side. You have to apply it all over. So I'll say all shape. And then because you have this like room here, you see the ceiling is still showing. So make sure you come in here, click here and uncheck the ceiling to remove it. And now when you come inside, you want to remove the ceiling from the ground floor. Because remember, this is our first one-story house that we created. And now you have ceiling removed, and ground and baseboard removed. And just, as you can see, I made the elevation too low. All right. Now you have a skylight with a flat ceiling. But if it's at an angle, obviously we have in a wall opening step, you have the different roof options here. All right, Gary, go ahead and write me an email. Send it to anybody has questions. If you are a professional or enterprise user, you can email me at support@cedreo.com. If you are a personal user or a free user that's interested in our course, email me at support@cedreo.com, and I will email you the link to sign up for the free Cedreo Academy and the link to our knowledge base. You also have access to the knowledge base as you're working in the planner. It's up here on the right, in this question mark. You have all the, when you click on either step, is going to take you to an external website to the knowledge base, and it'll give you a lot more videos. And you also have, let me show you. You also have our, in our knowledge base, you have all the webinars, replays here that I've done, as well as different cases that we are adding. We add different cases all the time, depending on if it's a unique case that somebody has a question about. Like we have the gambrel roof and things like that. We have it under cases. And all of that can be accessed in the planner with this question mark right here. All right. Thank you guys so much. Once again, you're fabulous. I'm I'll talk to you guys later, and look out for the next webinar. And if anybody has any interest in specific webinar topics that you feel like a lot more people might benefit from or anything like that, go ahead and send me an email with your suggestions. And I always take in my suggestions and your feedback and go from there. All right. Thank you guys. You have a good day. Bye. You're welcome, guys. Bye-bye.